What's up, folks? Hey, man, y'all bear with me. Still setting up a couple things, rebounding from the last episode of Elevated Dialogue. Hey, man, it's a lot of work when you doing this by yourself in terms of, you know, the engineering and stuff in the background. It just seems like people just turn the computer on and just start talking. Some people do, but not over here. So, y'all bear with me for a second while I finish getting situated. Hmm, hmm, hmm. We're broadcasting to Facebook. All right, here we go. Finally came up. Facebook be playing on my algorithm, man. So Drew will be on here in a second. But man, a couple things I saw today on the current events, and I'm sure Drew, when he pop in, he gonna have something to add on to it. But shout out to what's his name, Travis, with him, you know, overcoming adversity and winning his freedom. Got a not guilty verdict. Hang on a second. Where he at? Yeah, he got a not guilty verdict. Man, get a chance at his life. You know what I'm saying again, and you know, should have never went that far. I like to follow up on the stuff we discussed the previous week. Let's see here where we at. Man, look, if you guys didn't get a chance to tune in to Elevated Dialogue, you missed a really good episode, but it is on YouTube at repeat. You know what I'm saying, at your will. And tonight's episode was about, like men. It's marriage right for men, right? And it can be anything can you know what I'm saying, be successful. It's about probability versus possibility. You know what I'm saying? Can you become an astronaut? Sure, always a possibility. Probability, I know I can. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm willing to be sliced by my own blade on that one. I can't. You talking about math, engineering, whatever kind of testing they got to go with it. I'm stuck in my ways, just like a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? My age. Nah, the kid can't do it. So, um, but that's when you got to get your ego in check. Like, there's a harder road in life when you living with your ego out of check, right? So when I think about that, you know, that's the main path to conflict resolution, right? The main path to conflict resolution is how you manage your ego. No other way around it. You know what I'm saying? And it's inescapable. Like, that is the line every time. You know what I'm saying? What's going on, Leandra? I appreciate you for showing up. You all, hey, I always appreciate your support. The the game of life is about managing your ego. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Um, in the scape of managing your ego is what, what I'm saying, what gets you into conflicts, because it's some stuff that you can, walk away from. You can choose to engage and not because you can win, but you're in it for a self-serving reason. You're trying to. It's the fault line between being right versus a greater purpose assigned to what you give your energy to at some point. Because eventually, if you accept that life is a gift, in on one hand, and that life isn't equal, it isn't perfect, you can't have it all, whatever. It's the balance between consequences and whatever is perceived to be success. The ego is very, very dangerous. The ego is a insecurity multiplier. Like, everyone has an ego, right? But your ego is a thermostat to your insecurities, because ego is valid. You got to have it. You got to have it. You Because your ego measures how disrespected you're, what I'm saying, how much disrespect you can tolerate. That's what your ego measures. And you do one or two things, what I'm saying, to use the ego the right way. Like, your ego can get you into things and it can keep you out of things. You know what I'm saying? Your ego can, what I'm saying, set you up for success or absolute failure, because sometimes when we operate from a scarcity mindset, a wounded ego is part of a scarcity mindset, insecurities, um, just chronic, problematic presence. Like, everywhere you go, conflict is par for the course. Like, you change the energy in the room, you know what I'm saying, in a positive or a negative light, depending on how you carry yourself. Your ego is very, very dangerous. It is a weapon, you know. So these are things that men inherently accept. We understand that self-control, self-regulation is paramount. Nobody wants to hurt anybody. Nobody wants anybody else to be hurt. So in general, men walk around with these things every day and they know these things. So they make it paramount to go to a place that reflects their personal accountability, so they can kind of, you know, have a greater outcome on their safety. Because anything can happen to anybody anywhere. We get it. Just like I said, if the world isn't perfect, then you have to also accept that you can't have it all. You know what I'm saying? And that's just part for the course. Y'all see EJ coming here biting on me? Man, look, your puppy teeth are very sharp. You being real disrespectful. So the point being is that your ego is very, very valuable. Anything that's valuable to you is also a liability. Just like the thing that you're good at, you know, there's too much of anything. It's all understand. I don't know if people would be, what I'm saying, on board with that. I think more people want more understanding every day. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes down to it, the best way to gain greater understanding, and the first step in that, is recognizing that you have to learn how to be a student. You have to learn how to be a student. And then in the process of becoming a student, you got to submit to other guidelines. In that submission to other guidelines, so you can receive new information, then you can have a new understanding. What you do with that understanding is going to be representative of your ego. Like, if you take information and you use it in negative ways, you were there for self. It was just a selfish agenda. But if you take new information, try it on yourself first, or definitely work on. It's like self-improvement, self-development, necessary, par for the course. That's just part of it. You never stop working on self. These are the things that are very integral for men to be credible, capable, and respected. With that being said, a man that doesn't easily amount to these things generally gets tossed into a category. And all of us have worked with someone that is the local snitch on the job, Mr. One Up, Mr. I got a story that's better than yours on the same thing that they never experienced. Somebody that's going to offer you experience, like on something, on an activity that they don't do, have no experience in. Like, for instance, I remember a time when I was at work and it was this guy. Um, I ride a motorcycle, right? So I'm at work. A guy telling me about how he heard that riding motorcycles in Texas was trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, and telling me more about how Texas roads are, or riding in Texas is perceived. This guy doesn't even own a motorcycle. So to level, the conversation, to put him, in the same space where he can receive information that makes sense, I had to ask him how fast his motorcycle went. He said, I didn't have one. I said, you see, that's why you can't give anybody advice on motorcycles, fam. You don't even know how fast yours goes, because you don't own one. See, a lot of the times people are trying to tell people that they're wrong for the way that they're thinking, when they really just should just say, I can't relate. I should probably keep it moving. Keep it moving in real life means, moving your feet past whatever you own. On social media life, keep it moving means keep scrolling. A lot of people need to learn how to scroll past interactions that have nothing to do with their understanding. And the minute that you recognize that those people can't avoid interjecting and superimposing their perceptions of someone else's realities as a fact, is it not time to say that that person might have some sort of inferiority complex? Think about that, right? Think about arguing equality from a perceived lesser position, yet arguing that you're already equal to the people that you're ready to criticize. People that believe that they are just as credible or equal, they just do the work and they produce, and then they reflect the networks or the people that make them successful or contributed to their success in some kind of way, because they go out and they become representatives. They don't spend a lot of time trying to convince everybody else. They just do the work, because either you are or you're not, you know. And in the absence of not, a lot of people are just more apt to being loud and contrary and just generally argumentative, you know. And after this stage of life that we've been in, is it not weird to just see people arguing about the same thing every day? Is it not weird that nobody cares about solving a problem? Is it not unsettling that more people care to be first and loud and don't even give a damn about being accurate? Is it not weird that we're not having a conversation about solving the problem versus identifying the problem? At some point, aren't we our own problem? Hmm? At some point, are we not? Hang on a second. So, what accountable masculinity is all about is what it comes down to: self improvement, self assessment, self refinement. That's all it is, man. Like, it's not a fad. It's not some trendy. It's not something catchy. It's about, being accountable for self. Like, accountability will never go out of style. It just won't. So if you want to be seen as an equal, you have to be accountable for self to even be able to have that conversation, right? Because if you don't have yourself together, how are you going to solicit or you know what I'm saying, draw positive attention that changes the narrative for the things that you're complaining about? Because the narrative exists, whether you want to accept it or not. It exists because whether it's founded on anything, narratives are very, very easy to create. At some point, it's up to us to create our own healthy narratives. So, within that, we have to examine, you know what I'm saying, our behaviors, our interactions with people, and how we respond to them, because people are going to people. You're going to have folks in your own community that you would disagree with or not get along with. Those people are all over your life. They have been. That's why you recognize how you deal with them, right? Well, we kind of like at a point where we're as divided as we can be. Like with social media, and the power of social media has enabled people to organize. The folks that are able to organize are not doing the same things as the people that are individually unorganized, undisciplined, and everything that goes with the prefix being un. You know what I'm saying? Not being together in so many words. The people that are disciplined, you know what I'm saying, and they have reciprocal relationships that are healthy, whether it be romantic or business, those people are having a completely different conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like the ego is in check on the discipline side. Like you can't have discipline without credible ego management. Like if you got a bunch of guys and a bunch of men, I mean, a bunch of women that all have the same accolades, the same achievements, graded on the same scale, then nobody is better than anyone. Just not. In general, nobody's better than anyone. But when you start looking at the groupings of who does what and where and why, the worst of the worst is always going to be part of any slice of any demographic. The problem is that we get a lot of undisciplined people that make it hard for the people that are in the middle of choosing a side. We make it hard for them to pay attention because too many people just focused on being, you know what I'm saying, argumentative. There's a difference in just being disagreeable or just disagreeing. Like we can disagree on a path of travel. You know, we could disagree on a preference of vehicle or a preference of route or whatever. But the compromise is let's try your way and then we could try mine. That's just that's just what makes sense. But when you have a complex where it's to the point where it's my way or the highway, cut my nose, spike my face, then guess what you're making decisions with? Your ego. All of that kind of amounts to what the popular definition is when it comes down to the Napoleon complex. I'm going to read the definition. Well, as a matter of fact, hey, and on top of that, I threw this thing in the chat GPT just to see what it gave me. And I'm going to run off of what it's saying uh, for like whatever bias there is. Okay, so check this out. I'm going to read this. All right. The Napoleon complex is a term used colloquially to describe a psychological phenomenon in which individuals, typically of shorter stature, compensate for their perceived physical inadequacies by displaying aggressive or domineering behavior. The term is derived from the historical figure Napoleon Bonaparte, who was of relatively short stature compared to its contemporaries. So that first paragraph is based on what ChatGPT has to tell us. Um, it just breaks it down as that a man is um, lacking in physical stature makes up for it somewhere else, overcompensates. So ChatGPT is okay, as far as that's going. All right. The Napoleon Complex suggests that individuals who are shorter in height may develop a tendency to overcompensate by exhibiting overly assertive, ambitious, or aggressive behavior. It implies that they have an intense desire to assert their dominance and control over others as a way to compensate for their height related insecurities. It is important to note, well, before I move on to that third paragraph, it says it suggests that the individuals who are short in height may develop a tendency. Hey, look, there's a lot of short people out there. If the Napoleon complex was uh, as embraced as a probability, I believe short people would have probably already burned the place down. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I participate. I'm just saying I can see it. But that's not the point of the conversation. That's ego. Um, the third piece that Chat GPT has brought up. All right. It is important to note that the concept of Napoleon complex is a pop culture notion rather than a scientifically recognized psychological theory. While some studies have explored the relationship between height and personality traits, there is no consensus in the scientific community that supports the existence of a distinct personality complex solely based on height. Human behavior is influenced by a wide range of factors, and it is incorrect to attribute complex personality traits to a single characteristic like height. All right. That is the front side of the conversation for tonight. Because over here on Accountable Masculinity, this platform is focused on being objective and giving men conversations based on relatable experiences because it has to be easily translated. Things get kind of complicated when you start throwing in numbers, data, statistics, and everybody's been regurgitating the same thing for years. Let's have a conversation about this topic tonight and what it looks like when you take the numbers out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because we're just talking about things that we can visibly observe and relate to because that's where the conversation is. See, numbers haven't helped us because nobody cares about numbers. I mean, the people that need to care about numbers know what to do with them when they're looking at them. The type of disagreement and disconnect that we have in communication is more based on ego driven dialogue and a lack of self-regulation between people. So the ego part of it is when you enter a discussion and whatever you're bringing up, somebody's just bringing up a response. It may not be right. It could be right, but it doesn't matter because it might not be relevant to the initial thing that triggered the response. And we've all talked to someone that communicates this way. That person, generally speaking, we not just say that person has a complex? If we can accept that the Napoleon complex has been socialized, doesn't have a true medical designation, and it is just a pop culture term, it is no different than when the Confederate supporters say that they fly the flag because it's heritage. See, heritage to one person may not mean the same thing for everybody else, but that's not the point of the discussion. The point of the discussion is about being objective, right? Because I'm just trying to show you how it's, how things are seen or perceived. doesn't have to come from a hurt place, doesn't need to have statistics for it to be relatable, right? So the general spirit of the conversation is that, come on, man, we know some things exist in the majority and we know some things exist in the exception. When we start breaking it down, it's almost unreasonable to disagree with the fact that a lot of the things that we use as rebuttals are really just from the exception. Because if you have an abundance of examples, wouldn't that say more about you and the people that you're connected to than the things that happen to you? Because even if it happened you, putting yourself in a disadvantaged position, more than likely. Like, I don't know, like you're less likely to get in a fishing accident if you're on a construction site. So like if you're arguing with somebody on a construction site, your response based on a fishing experiment or a fishing expedition or whatever it might be, if you trying to rebut someone that spoke to you from a construction background with your experience, you know what I'm saying, like in a fishing situation, I can't expect that somebody can relate to that. The other person is not going to be, you know, comfortable in that conversation. So you're not going to have dialogue. You're going to get defensive. When you are uncomfortable, you get defensive in most cases. And or either you get in a position where you are surrendering in some kind of way. You know, either prepared to fight, prepared to surrender. So your ego is what keeps you from like choosing to fight a fight that you can't win. That's what ego is prepared to do. Ego is prepared to fight to the death. So tonight, when we talk about women with the same behavior, from the same behavior in women, because if we are supposed to be equals, if all things are true, which they are over here, then we have to simulate a discussion where if women believe that they are alpha females, they're going to have to make that make sense. Because over here, the alphas don't say that they're alpha. Because we've always accepted as code that whoever says they're an alpha isn't an alpha. Alphas don't have to advertise themselves. That's just a fact, you know? But you're going to have to be able to make it make sense to those whom you want to be accepted by, which is the inferiority complex example that I was talking about before, which is where the Napoleon piece came from. But there's no terminology that's been given specifically to women that have a Napoleon, of a feminine version of the Napoleon complex until now. So tonight is where we have a conversation about short woman syndrome. Short in sight, not in height. Short woman syndrome. Well, what is short woman syndrome? You remember all of the examples that I just gave? Like, think about it, right? Think about every time, like, you think about Mr. One Up. All of us have worked with some man that has been Mr. One Up, has a better story than everybody else. Doesn't matter. And the story is perfect. Okay. That person is Mr. One Up. That person right there does not have valid regulation of their ego. Or the better stated, the regulation of their ego is probably less successful in building networks, because there's still a place for it, because that's where your entertainers and your creators come from. You know what I'm saying? People who have an ego, but they are a master in their own lane. So you can't even go critique them, right? Those people have a justifiable ego. You know what I'm saying? And whether it's accepted or not, that's up to your ego. Because your ego is about what you can accept. But short woman syndrome is when you have a discussion with your significant other, or not even got to be your significant other. Just let's just talk about it. Like, how many of you work with women in the workplace or been in a relationship with women, and you bring up something that's not measurable by, money or something like that. Let's just say, you know, I remember when you used to do these intangible things 1, 2, and 3, and you don't do them anymore. And then she hears that and takes what you're saying and responds with, well, there's 1, 2, or 3 things that you used to do that you don't do anymore. But the conversation wasn't about what you didn't do. It's about the things that you're identifying that she can improve on, or at least have a conversation about it. Because we're not ready to be defensive. Because it's not an interrogation. You want to be informed. You want the information, but you don't like the delivery. And then if you get the delivery you want, you don't like the information. At some point, is that not weird if you really care about the other person? Is that not weird? Is that not like can we not call that its own complex? Is that not the short woman syndrome complex? Because the things that you want to be combative about aren't worth fighting about. Is that not weird at the point in time in your life? And then when you start seeing the the lack of success in your workplace is also for the same reasons that your personal relationships don't work, your romantic relationships don't work, your family relationships don't work, because you're focused on being right instead of righteous. See, that's part of having a complex too. Like, I wrote a post today about using your personal faith or belief system as a rebuttal to metrics, numbers, data, verifiable statistics is not applicable. Think about how much non applicable information people give you that only prolong the answer, like, especially when you ask a very direct question. And the longer the conversation, the less the accountability on a very direct question. It's just weird to me. Is it not time to identify that as being an inferiority complex? And I can go further, like, if you take men out of all the women's problems, right? They treat each other poorly. Is that not an ego fight? Like, of all the independence that you can have and that you fight for, and you choose, what I'm saying, to weaponize your independence and target each other. That's kind of weird. I understand that to be just same across the board, what I'm saying, within our own community, within our own culture. Yeah, we got some violence against each other. Yeah, absolutely. But ego is more present in the absence of substance. So a lot of people are in survival mode mentally. So no matter where you put them, they're gonna have the same outcomes. No matter how much money you give them, the more money you give them, the more they self-destruct. The less money you give them, the more they hurt other people. At some point, have women that are, hyper independent, or naturally, or motivated to be disagreeable against men. Feminists is what I'm talking about for the most part. Do some of them not like have a syndrome to where that makes them disagreeable about stuff they can't change? You know how weird it is to argue a moot point. And I want this to be, I'm saying, taken into consideration too, because like somebody's gonna come in and say, damn, he going kind of hard. But like, This platform is about what men, the red flags that men need to pay attention to. That's just what it is. Like, go get your own counseling, go get your own mentoring. The like-minded men and women that agree with me are the only people whose cups I'm pouring into right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm giving something information wise that they can verify, something they can relate to. Nobody can tell me I'm wrong. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I'm trying to tell you to look at it from a different perspective, because I'm not making up what I'm talking about. Everybody's got a bias, but some people's bias are focused on preserving unhealthy situation and unhealthy competition. And that's just an ego situation yet again. You know, um, at some point, don't we have to have a more articulate understanding versus being articulate at delivering the least amount of accountability possible? Is it not just a natural progression? Because if they can call themselves alpha females, should they not be subject to scrutinization? Because if they're alphas, how come they're not leading? And if they are leading, what does it look like? And if they got it right, show us where it's right and we can get behind it. You know what I'm saying? And help it. If they care about the community, because we cannot have a safe community if women don't like each other. It's just the facts. So, do women have short women syndrome, meaning short in sight and not in height? Do they become prisoners to the moment, prisoners of the moment on a regular basis? You know what I'm saying? What do you think? And I'm just spitting off the dome right now, you know what I'm saying? But this is the topic because, you know, I understand it. I have my own connection to what I'm talking about. So it don't even need to be written down. But I'm gonna pause there for a moment because yo, hey, look, women are in competition. Hey, shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Let me start highlighting some people over here. Shout out to my man Jamal. Women are in competition. Yes, women have historically competed with each other for the most unhealthiest of reasons. So much so that it it doesn't even get a chance to leave a generation. Like, it starts with each other. If you take men out of all their problems, they still have major issues with each other. And in most cases, the issues that they have with each other are ego driven. That's what a fight is. Is it's a lack of comprehension. It's a lack of emotional comprehension. It's a lack in general. Anything that you should have, your ego would deprive you of it, especially when you are in competition with other people. Let's see here. What we got? Man, Jamal, what you got, man? Would you consider it an ego issue when a rich man feels like he can't learn anything from a poor man? Oh, absolutely. Um, your ego determines how receptive you are to new information. Your ego also, at another level, will hear the new information and make a determination if it's going to change your mindset. Like, if you went through life thinking that the sky was blue, and then someone comes around and tells you that it's red, and then they prove it to you, you know what I'm saying, with data, statistics, and other verifiable, information, at some point, you're going to have to say the sky might be red, you know, or guess what? You're delusional. To somebody, you're delusional, you know. Everybody is entitled to believe whatever they can stand by, you know. Just do it over there. So, like, for instance, I've been trying to coach myself and use more fluid words as I write, because written words hit different for a longer period of time. So if you use something very trendy and very emotional in the moment, your words don't. I guess the phraseology is the difference between why people say, like slang now is something completely different than when people was calling each other jive turkeys and slick. You know what I'm saying? As a term of endearment. That's the difference. You know. So things change, and no matter how many resources you have, the size of your network, at some point, everybody has to submit to a new understanding. And sometimes, and the thing is, if you got to submit to it, then you're not in charge of where it came from. So when it shows up in whatever form it shows up in, you better listen. So going back to what Jamal was just asking, that would you consider an ego issue when a rich man feels like he can't learn anything from a poor man? Absolutely. See, the other part of this, and I'm gonna move off of this topic and move to the next question. It's okay to desire better for yourself. It's okay to be better than the last version of yourself. But you can't let what you're trying to become make you believe that you're better than other people who you did it in front of. That's what I say to that. Like they saw you. So like be respectful. Let's see here. Do you believe in the notion that if you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room? Seems like it goes against the ego but works towards self-improvement. That's a very good observation. um I think that if you go into a room in terms of this question, I think in general anybody that's accountable for themselves doesn't believe that they know everything. Okay. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. There's some truth to that for people that probably need to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Because they may be exhibiting a behavior that mirrors somebody else that they're around, a peer of some sort, right? But they don't have a connection to someone that's doing better. So even if you tell them, hey, you need to come over here because we're doing better over here, they don't know what better looks like. A lot of people don't know what winning looks like. So you have to have a baby step version of you need to move your feet. You need to go where people are doing better, but some people don't know where they are. And it goes down into a self discovery. It goes down into situational awareness, which spins into the part where you ended it with the perfect phraseology. It works definitely more towards self improvements because, in the self improvement vein, being situationally aware of self, both objectively and subjectively, allows you to recognize whether or not you're the most intelligent person in the room. So I do believe that the way it's stated is more of a double entendre. Like if you get the first part of the message, you're in the wrong room, then that makes you check your ego. That makes you, what I'm saying, examine what you need to do to self improve. But then on the other side, if you start off with just being focused on the self improvement, then you're going to have a greater situational awareness, therefore letting you know that recognizing your space. This is about just reading the room and knowing your audience. Sometimes you're sitting in the chair, sometimes you're on the stage. You know what I'm saying? So like it just varies about what is that person trying to accomplish. And if they're focused on self-improvement, they're going to always be in a space that allows humility or moments of humility. So I like the question. I hope that answers it. If you got something else you want to ask me, you know what I'm saying? I'm all here for it. Let me pull up this Travis Rudolph video. We take a break while you guys think of whatever you think of. Cause my man he ain't my man like that in terms like me whether or not I know him, but he represents a lot of guys that have been in situations where the law was involved, and um, and I think that it's important for us to highlight those that you know got a chance to stay on this side of the wall, have some freedom, you know what I'm saying? That type of energy. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this up here and say fair use because let's see, I don't want no issues from YouTube, Facebook, social media. Fair use, fair use. All right, so I'm gonna let this video play and we're gonna have a discussion, you know what I'm saying, and talk about um, and we're gonna relate this video to what we got going on. Let's see and make sure I got the right thing. Cause I am ready to go ahead. Okay, 7 hours.
A former NFL player charged with murder could soon learn his fate. Attorneys gave closing arguments in Travis Rudolph's trial on Tuesday. Witnesses say Rudolph got into a physical fight with his now ex-girlfriend, Dominique Jones, in April of 2021. That's when Jones reportedly texted her brother to bring a group of men to Rudolph's home to confront him. 4 men showed up and a brawl broke out. As the group of men was leaving, prosecutors argued that Rudolph shot at them 39 times, killing 21-year-old Sebastian Jean-Jacques. He was in the passenger seat of a car when he was shot 10 times. Another man was injured but survived. A stand your ground hearing was held, but the judge ruled Rudolph couldn't use a defense because the men were trying to get away when he shot at them. Rudolph testified in his own defense on Monday, and jury instructions were read before closing arguments on Tuesday. Here's what the attorneys had to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you, even under the unlikely circumstances that they had firearms and in fact pointed them, think about what those men would have seen. This firearm, big one, Sig Sauer, with the drum, heavy thing, by the way. You're allowed to touch things. Coming at them from somebody who's running towards them or walking towards them. Somebody they're trying to escape, someone whom they're literally trying to flee. They would have had every right to turn guns on him at that moment. But ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that did not happen. They did not have time. They didn't have time. They got in that car, the car started moving, and they were screeching away or trying.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Great argument by opposing counsel, but I forgot to talk to you about the facts of the case. About what the...
All right, man. So, you know, man, hold on, man. Hey, man, this ain't no propaganda channel. Get up out of here with that. We ain't talking about that. But this is where we are right now. So you heard the argument. You know what I'm saying? Like you can only expect what you can expect from legal counsel. They gonna talk about whatever they're gonna talk about. And you know, um, the way that this played out, you could see the short woman syndrome, short in sight, not necessarily in height, and the major piece it played into this situation. You know, this lady called her brothers up to deal with a domestic dispute and got one of her brothers, you know what I'm saying, deleted. Got him rinsed. The It's ridiculous. It's like this is what happens when feelings get overdone, all the way out of there. And the ego is the ruler of the feelings. It lives in the subjective. It's the part that casts doubt. It's the part that boos you off the stage before you perform. It's the part where the fear, the anxiety, all that stuff, the uncertainty lives. So if you don't have control of that, you're gonna you're gonna be out of here real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm glad. Yeah, good on him. Definitely didn't do anything wrong. Uh, because in very few situations, it's hard for people, especially people of color, to defend themselves again to the letter of the law. It's crazy. But let's finish the video, and we'll continue. Hang on. Hold on.
I was watching an episode of The Sopranos.
Wait a minute.
Great argument by
Moving and they were screeching away or trying to.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Great argument by opposing counsel, but I forgot to talk to you about the facts of the case, about what the witnesses said,
Fair use.
about Detective Vandal and her lack of investigation. I didn't know any better. I was watching an episode of The Sopranos. Just the names changed. Somebody disrespected a mobster's daughter, and they went to go whack him. They go kill him. That's what this case really is. Not just the video that shows you what it shows you. Of course, it doesn't lie, but it doesn't show you the whole story. At the moment of truth, you can't see who's in that car and what they're doing or not doing. You'll never know. It's impossible. State can argue all they want. They weren't there. Shameful that you didn't get to see the real evidence in this case. It's a shame that nobody cared. Thank God he had lawyers that cared.
Bernardo, how much of this case rests on Rudolph's testimony, and did he do enough for an acquittal?
Yo. Hold up. What in the world is this? Yo. His lawyers showed up. It's a lot of people that can't afford representation, you know what I'm saying? And they have to accept what they can afford. You know what I'm saying? Like, this again, another example of you can only have what you can afford. It doesn't have anything to do with money. Like, the only key to real peace and success and predictability is just being as upright as possible. I know there's some moments where you can't be as upright as you gotta be, as you like to be. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's imperative that you endeavor to be as upright as possible, because they're gonna try you. You're gonna get tried. It's kind of unavoidable depending on whatever it is that you do. You know, like you can do everything the right way and something chaotic happens, you know. But if you're upright, it's easier to win that conflict. How does that relate to what we're talking about tonight? The ego. We are here in this conversation because all of us have a relatable experience about dealing with a woman's ego when she has the Napoleon complex. It's what it is, you know. Now, again, let's just take the data out of it, because there's no data, there's no database to see who tested positive for Napoleon complex. That's ridiculous. So if we don't have a database for it, guess what? We can have a conversation about anything. If you want to be equals, everything you say we got, you got it too. You have an inferiority complex. If you find yourself trying to argue your way into being right, being disruptive for no reason, argumentative with realities that you can't relate to, but yet you call them wrong because you don't have another leg in the fight, you have no leverage. If you have no leverage, you're probably in the wrong room. Just like, hey, if you are the smartest person in the room, you might be in the wrong room, or you might be on the wrong subject altogether. Guess what? I'm probably not your audience, and you're probably not mine. And guess what? It's cool. It's no different than you being a fan of whatever team you got going on and who you cheer for, and you not being a fan of mine. I'm not going to be offended. I'm not going to be offended that you don't like the same things that I like. That's ridiculous. Arguing moot points, that's an ego situation. Big ego situation. That's the only thing that can come out of it. Like, when you start breaking it down, at some point, are you not the problem if you're trying to convince somebody else of your reality? Especially when you have the option to leave or never talking to that person again. Like, think about that. You can leave and your life just improves. You cannot respond and you lose no sleep. In fact, the ceiling fan is on high and the thermostat in your house is set below 70 because they can't take away your comfort. You got to get to a certain point where you recognize that someone's just looking to be disagreeable, looking to be argumentative. And if you're acting like that, is that not like a syndrome or a complex in comparison to what we just read about the Napoleon Complex? There's no database. There's no, clinical definition for it. But there is a comparable one. Has anyone ever heard of illusory superiority? Hey, look, I'm gonna type this in. I want somebody to look it up. All right. I want somebody to look up illusory superiority. And I want them to read the definition and repost the text that they understand from it that they can relate to. Just look it up. And I'm gonna go ahead and find a source too. Look, I've had, multiple conversations about this topic this week because, a lot of people are uh, or were, inspired by Kevin Samuels. You know what I'm saying? R.I.P. to a great man that was doing great work. And every every culture, every era has people that come in and go all in and commit themselves to the labor, of their purpose. And sometimes people don't get to complete it. Most of us ain't gonna get a chance to complete anything. Those of us that have, we are um, able to embrace momentum because nothing beats an understanding like a new understanding. And in this recent understanding, like he led with modern women and everything that was affiliated with that. And I believe a lot of people are just modern in general. You might have a modern mindset, traditional mindset, but you still could be compatible with someone, right? if it came down to it. If you can manage your ego, you could definitely be compatible with people. That's what makes you compatible with people. Other people's egos feel safe around your ego because it's not you. Because the human, the flesh version of you, definitely wants comfort. Definitely wants to be lazy. Definitely wants to act the way that it feels. The thing is, this is why emotions are so important. You're gonna act the way that you feel, good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I'm saying? You can manage it, but your ego is a ruler of you too. It's present. It rules something. And whether it's the majority or the minority, you're aware of it. So it rules something. It has it's a part of you. It goes with you everywhere. Your ego lets you know when you're being disrespected. Your ego lets you know when you're being challenged. And then when you start examining, but your presence of mind, your situational awareness says, hey, ego, I know you're upset, but you know what I'm saying? Just write it down and let's make it make sense. And then we figure out what we're going to do with this information. See, like this, managing your ego, that's what turns you into a weapon. And then you don't have to engage in arguments that are founded on moot points. And the less you can do that, the more you can avoid arguing over moot points, the more peace you experience, the less debates find you, more like minded people start showing up, and your network grows. And then your network pays you back. But you have to have something to offer the network that you have. And that takes you managing your ego. Can't have anything without it. You just can't. And if you don't manage your ego properly, you're going to get a lot of people hurt because men can't afford to be careless. Women and children can be. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to The Godfather. You know, the actual movie. And Vito Corleone saying that men cannot afford to be careless. It's just a fact. When men are careless, a lot of people get hurt. A lot of people get hurt if anybody else chooses to be careless, but we especially have to be able to say that first. All right, now. My cousin Drew coming on. Man, welcome to the conversation. Drew,
Yo,
what's up with it?
what I had the link from last week or something?
I don't know, man. I don't know what I thought I had hit the new one, but hey, let me know. What are you doing? It sounds like you're churning butter.
Whatever I'm doing ain't working.
You need a ratchet. You need like a 9/16.
Oh my god.
Oh man, down. Hey, did you see?
No,
Did you see Travis Rudolph got off? Let me know when you're ready. It sounds like you in there underneath the kitchen sink. Hey, folks, this is how live this show is. My man, he sound like he either in a toolbox trying to get his equipment, you know what I'm saying, set up so he can participate in the conversation. I think I might have sent him the wrong link, but I needed to talk early anyway to get my point across. And then now he's showing up. Hey man, look, we put in a lot of work to, you know what I'm saying, to make these points. And you know what I'm saying, it's a lot when you're doing it, you know what I'm saying, like on the back end to make it happen. Nobody's gonna come do it for you. And dedicate a lot of time to this. And when it comes down to trying to identify how to make it go further, conflicts don't make it go further. Ending the conflicts makes it go further. Me and being of service makes it go further. And you end up having more conversation with people that are focused on solving the problem rather than investing in the solution. Um, well, rather than investing in impeding the solution. So it's got to happen, like in some way, shape, or form. And our responsibility at present is just to observe and what I'm saying, and give our opinions on things, because some people don't know the information that's required to move forward. Some people don't know how to synthesize what they see. They just know how to react to it. But where you place that reaction, what you do with the energy from that reaction, that's on you. You know, like it's that all of that is on you, and that's the self-regulation piece, because you're gonna get some information that's just gonna be random and it doesn't fit right away, but it's like I know it goes somewhere. And then you have a situation in life that brings forth an opportunity for understanding if you apply what you've been paying attention to. The things that we've been paying attention to are just generally observed by behavior. We go where we feel safe. If I don't feel safe around someone, it's generally because they don't have good self-regulation. And if they don't have good self-regulation, they're very vulnerable. They invite a lot of insecure risks into your space. They are liabilities based on their own individual behavior, so they can only attract what they can relate to, because that's where they feel safe, where they can perform. And by perform, I mean allowed to make a scene. Like if you make a scene somewhere in public, that's an inferiority complex too. Like depending on the nature of the trigger, it's an inferiority complex. To think that you can be loud in order to be valid has to be an inferiority complex. Go into a bank and scream loud enough to see if they'll loan you 200 grand and see how that goes. You can believe you're entitled to it. You can believe if you raise your voice loud enough, somebody will honor your request. But you're probably going to jail too, fam. And you're probably not gonna get that money. It's only certain places where you can use certain communication methods. In places like Kuwait, you can't show somebody the bottom of your foot. That's an offense. That's an offensive gesture. You might just see yourself, just having a decent seat. They see it as a malicious gesture. And now you locked up because you don't understand the law of the land. This is why I say men submit first. We already have to submit to the law of the land. That's why when we start talking about making adjustments, corrections, and things of that nature, it's not because we want to control you. It's because we want to maximize our understanding of each other. It's what we want to maximize the philosophy of investing in community. Hang on a second. You ready now? Man, finally got out that toolbox.
Yeah, I did
And I
get the
thought you had like a
916.
bad door hinge on that joint, man. What was going on?
Nah, man, the maintenance dude came over here earlier, man, to putting up some blinds and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Cracked my glass to my little man cave right here. Cracked the whole thing. I got a spider web glass right there. And Ava was
Bro.
trying to make a hole.
Plot thickens, huh?
Never a dull moment, dog.
Never a
Never a
dull
dull
moment.
moment.
Man,
We in here though.
yeah. Hey man, how was your day outside
Man,
of the maintenance?
it was maintenance, right? He needed somebody to maintain him. But other than that, man, it was cool, man. Regular Wednesday, man.
Yeah. What Ava do today?
No, what she had an appointment, but they canceled. They must have had something going on over there today. But she normally have a therapy appointment today too.
That's her right there. She heard her name.
Yep. Hey, booby.
Yep. There she go. Hey, she going to bed in about 20 minutes.
She just woke up.
Oh man, yeah. Like
we in for the long haul tonight.
Yeah, man. Did you see Travis Rudolph got off? Well,
no, I've been watching that all afternoon, man. I need to know when the charges are coming for Shorty, because she's. I went back and watched her whole testimony. She's a despicable human being.
Look, nothing shy of it, man. Like there's like no room. She's the example of what not to do, who not
of everything not to do, of what type of wig not to wear from that on down.
Her whole wig was sexually undisciplined.
Stupid, man. It was all stupid. Her testimony was stupid. Her hair was stupid. It was all bad. She was sitting up there basically, and I put that on the prosecutor too. She was spicy back with her.
Right.
They just sitting up there having a spice off. And now the judge got to moderate testimony.
Look, can't even be professional because you trying to use some extra stuff. Is that not the short woman syndrome?
She got it. Whoever that young lady is, she got it, and she's also a professional tap dancer.
Every time she talked, it sounded like Gregory Hines woke up.
Man, listen, man. It was ridiculous. She danced around every question they asked her. Hey, the lady asked her straight up, "Are you married?" No, we're separated. No, that's not a list. It's not on when you fill out paperwork, that's not on the list.
Hey, what's crazy is this right here. In that situation, in the most, you know what I'm saying, in the legal environment, right? We expect them to respond the way that their lawyer coaches them to respond. You know what I'm saying? Because they had to rehearse some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? But after a while, it was like, come on, dog. You were still married. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have no credibility.
And even when the lady asked her, "Did you tell Mr. Rudolph about you being married?" She was like, "Nah, he ain't asked." And I was like, "Whoa, that's the one we're gonna use." So it's cool as long as you don't ask. So if you had AIDS, that's cool. He ain't asked.
You know what I mean? You know how many things you can do. And like you think about the evil that people do in general, right?
Right.
If they didn't ask, was the basic response or the justification, we in trouble.
When does that work? When does that work? When do you get to say, "Oh, you ain't asked"? You didn't ask.
And it worked in your favor.
Response. In a court of law, she said that in front of everybody. You didn't ask.
Shameful.
She is a despicable human being, man. They gotta lock her up.
They got to. I wonder what they're going.
They gotta go back and sue the other dude up. Because that was a group chat.
I got to sue everybody. I'm trying to see if I can sue the dead dude too.
Yes, I need all that.
Yeah,
because I was on my way to get a CFL.
I got to inconvenience them.
I was supposed to be playing football.
I need to inconvenience them. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, look, we should see if we can get him on the podcast.
For real? No, he about to be everywhere. He about to do a lot of podcasts. Because people want to hear that story. Like, how did you even meet this lady? How you end up from meeting this lady to shooting up some dudes outside your crib? Because you almost didn't make it.
Yeah, that's a wild turn of events. You know what I'm saying?
They went through her Google search history. She was Googling self-defense, Florida stand your ground law, right? And then one question, she was Googling his lawyer's net worth. So the prosecutor asks, like, why did you Google his net worth, right? And she says, because I knew his financial situation. He can't afford that lawyer, right? That don't got nothing to do with his
You're worried
services.
about the wrong things.
But guess what her next Google search was after she Googled what his lawyer was?
What was it?
Pro bono lawyers. So how you gonna tell me? How you gonna tell me what I can't afford and you out here searching for pro bono?
Short woman syndrome.
What are you talking about?
Not in height.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? That has nothing to do with
that can't be your next search. Search something else.
It can't be your next search.
It's the very next search. The lady had a list. She printed it out like we was in like a syllabus. And she was reading through this lady Google. Is ready? She was reading through this lady Google search.
Nah, fam, you can't. It's all in the browser history, and didn't even delete the browser history.
You can't delete nothing off that phone.
No, you can. Oh, definitely can't.
You can't. If the feds want to see what's on your phone, they're gonna see what's on your phone.
They've been had it.
Yeah, you can't delete that.
Yeah.
You can't even turn these phones off.
Because they can turn it back on and find you. If
your phone, like your iPhone go dead, it's still searchable.
Yeah.
That mean it ain't off.
That mean it ain't off. Something in there.
That mean it's on
still communicating. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Nope. But yeah, they gotta charge that lady. She was horrible. Like, dude, how did you find her?
Yeah. Hey man, give me a short woman syndrome story.
A story.
Or just an example. You know what I'm saying? Something that you done seen. You know what I'm saying? Because we've all seen when somebody's being held accountable in a general sense, and then somebody, when they ask them why did they make the choices that they made, they always give an excuse that has nothing to do with the question that you asked, just like this trial, right?
Right.
That's generally the essence of it, because you're being deflective, right? So I guess a better question would be like one of the deflective arguments that you've either witnessed or participated in. Like, it could be at work, it could be anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that situation like?
A lot of those situations do happen at work, especially when you be in charge of people like that, right? So I've had conversations where I had to bring people in to talk about production, maybe an issue with another coworker. And most of those conversations started with, I feel like.
Every time.
Never about what someone actually did, what someone actually said.
Nothing measurable.
No, it was always, well, I felt like when she asked me to pass her the stapler, she ain't really say it right. And my name, like, did you have the stapler? Did you give her the stapler? Is it? Why do you have to feel about a stapler? You shouldn't feel no way about that stapler. You just shouldn't. But a lot of those those conversations start with, I feel like. I feel like, yeah. That's a dangerous phrase when we trying to get to the bottom of facts.
Man, look, and see, I like that, because you can't name them all in one sitting. You have to go back and re-examine every time, like you either was in a beef with someone or observed it, right? Generally speaking, when you observe, you got to make a judgment, especially from a leadership position, especially from like a management position or something, right? Because if the management making decisions off of their feelings, a lot of people in trouble, right?
We all in trouble. Because what happens a lot of times is, if you have, it's more than one manager, right?
Yep.
So if it's 6 of us and we all hate each other, it's just like parents when they get a divorce. If your kids know y'all ain't getting along, they're gonna play that to their advantage.
They gonna definitely exploit
of same way in those type of situations.
Mm-hmm.
The people in leadership, they know we're not getting along. Then the prisoners will run the asylum. In that case, they're just it's almost like a gang at that point.
For real, because like just basic factions getting drawn, right? And I got to this point with trying to call it something, because if you think about every reason to disagree with something, right? And again, like let's just say the analogy of me and you being in partnership with trying to say, I don't know, drive to some destination, right? We're gonna both drive to Portland, right? You're gonna tell me a route, and I'm gonna tell you a route. And then we're gonna have a conversation about which route makes sense. Because if we being disagreeable, it's because we both trying to solve the same problem, right?
Right.
In most cases. If we being argumentative, that's a different energy, right? So I think a lot of people mess around and like you might tell me something and you say the dog ran across the street. And then I might say, no, the dog skipped across the street. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like now I'm just making up something just to make up something, just to be disagreeable, just to be argumentative, right? Is that not an inferiority complex? Is that not somebody that's just being disruptive for the sake of being disruptive?
Right. Like it's got to be my way type situation. Like, it wasn't really a run. It was more like a skip. Like, okay, dog, you got it.
Well, if I ever see a dog skip,
I'm gonna skip the other way.
Yeah, we lost.
Yeah, we
we already lost. You got dogs skipping.
Yeah, that's over. At that point, the dog is skipping across the street. We're done.
Yeah, man. So, what else I wanted to discuss? So, last episode, I like going back to some of the things we discussed. I think the Travis Rudolph thing is what we discussed the last time, and it kind of spilled over now.
Because I had kind of forgot about it. Like I remember when you brought it back up, I was like, oh, I do remember hearing about that, and I wondered what happened about it. But it had been 2 or 3 years, I think.
Yeah, it happened in 21. Yeah. So, oh man, like think about how much stuff happens in a week, right? Since that conversation, and you didn't, say you wasn't made aware of it until we talked about it before the show, and then now this week he getting off, and I ain't known anything about it in the last 2 years. I remember when it was brought up, but like it just kind of got washed. It was like, oh yeah, I remember that, but it hadn't been no regular conversation, But like this time around, since we last talked, DC Young Fly baby mama passed.
Yeah. And I just found out this morning how that happened, because it was just she passed. But we messing around under that knife again. And I don't even really want to say nothing, because people.
I don't want to say nothing either. I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I think we gotta figure out what we're doing here.
Yeah, we gotta make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? At some point, right? But that's not necessarily why I brought that up, because I think that topic's still too early, too soon.
That's an old topic. They'll get to it. It really
is.
We've been having that argument for 10 years now.
But did you see Azalea Banks?
I did not see what she actually said, but I did read a headline that she was speaking out of turn.
Way out of turn.
Now, how do you take that? I roasted you on a roasting show to on the show where people get roasted, to you being disrespectful to my kid's mom.
Oh man, like yo.
That's how you gonna justify it, right?
Look, man, it's crazy.
And I guarantee if somebody asks her why she did that, she will tell you how she feels.
Right. Yo, it's crazy, man. Like, it's just disrespectful. Let's see here. Trying to just find some pictures of it real quick, you know.
Yeah, I saw that headline and it was like, nah, I don't even want to see it. I'm glad they didn't attach whatever it was to it because what are we doing, man?
Like, come on, man. Yeah, like, and somebody got a post up here that says, how the fuck you still in your feelings over a joking show?
A joke.
Yeah, and somebody said cancel duck legs. Hold on, let me show you the picture though.
And somebody died. And
somebody died.
Somebody died.
You gotta chill. And this time we gotta like, come on, man.
Like we gotta stop what we doing. Because somebody
use.
died.
Somebody said that thorn in my side is finally out. No way in hell I was blessed with this many gifts, this much talent and beauty to be a cultural punching bag for a cast of peons who wouldn't have a pot to piss in if they didn't have the court of social media addicts to gesture. I do this in real time. I'm not repeating that. And ironically, dead at 32, exactly on my 32nd birthday, May 31st, 2023.
Wow. Yeah. That's different.
Hey, look. That's that. Hey, man, when I be talking about women have no code.
Yeah, no, I don't know what that is. That's crazy. Dead at 32 on my 32nd birthday.
Bruh.
I can't touch that. Like how
it's bad energy all over that.
You don't want nothing to do with that.
Sure don't. He called it duck legs though.
How did we get here, man? Like what? Now I got to go back and hear these jokes.
Yeah. Now, hey, you know,
like he must have flamed you over there.
He had to flame her.
He flamed you. But see, remember the other day when we was talking about Rick Ross and Envy, right?
Yep.
Some people don't know how to play.
They don't know how to play.
They don't know how to play. Azalea Banks don't know how to play.
She don't.
She did not. She don't know how to play. We was joking, and you start talking about people's parents.
Man.
On the roasting show, I got to keep bringing that back. That the show is. That's what we wild out. That's what we do.
We here to wild out.
Now you off script talking about my folks.
Is this
just
so
nasty human beings, man?
It's so easy to be disrespectful. She wants some coconut.
That's what I thought.
Or was it cocoa melon?
I thought she said coconut too.
I thought she said coconut, and when
you said coconut, she said yay.
It's coconut.
Go get it. Go get it. Show me what you're talking about.
Hey, I know you probably didn't get a chance to catch Elevated Dialogue tonight.
I watched some of it, man. I tuned in right on the part where dude told Antoine to get to the point. And you turn your whole chair around. I was like, no, you didn't have to say that.
Disrespectful.
No, that wasn't cool. That wasn't cool. Wasn't cool at all. And then I like what the other dude said, the angry guy. I like what he said after that. But that was all the way disrespectful. You don't get on the platform like that, man. We having a discussion to say get
you
to the point.
Guest.
How you a heckler on a podcast?
You invited yourself to be just disagreeable again. Inferiority complex.
Yeah, that wasn't cool. Maybe because he was sitting up there with some people that didn't look like him. I don't know. But
you invite all of that to you when you start acting like that.
You definitely in the wrong place to say get to the point.
Because I'm gonna say something.
Yeah, like nah, you can't do that. That was outright disrespect. You can't do that. You can't do that. Get to the point. When I heard it, I was like, and then I wasn't even looking at the screen, but I knew who said it. That's the funny part. That was the funny part about it. I wasn't looking at the screen, but I knew who had said get to the point.
Oh man.
It was the face I had never seen before. You see that?
Yeah, yeah. What Chloe back there doing, man?
Looking out the window, she looking for the ops.
Hey, look like she got groomed up.
Yeah, she just came back last week. I think it was last week.
Mm-hmm. Man, I think we touched on a lot of stuff, you know what I'm saying, in tonight's show. You know, it's already been an hour and a half, and you know, I don't want to run people too long. I appreciate you jumping over here and always adding something to the conversation, man. You know.
Yes, sir, man. Anytime, my brother.
Yeah, it's only been a matter of time for us on a live platform. You know, what I'm
we only got a couple more of these to do like this.
Yeah. So it's about to go up. So, man, y'all stay tuned. Hey, to everybody that support the Code Talk platform, you know, shout out to you for just being willing to engage. Appreciate my man Reload Slim, one of my guys, Scott Feather. Who else? Everybody that spoke up in the chat tonight, man, I appreciate you. You know, my friend Leandra, Jonte, and Antoine. What's going on? Hey, really appreciate y'all taking some extra time to hang out with us. But it's time for us to move on. We'll be back next week. I'll be in contact. You guys follow my Facebook page. Stay tuned.